What's up, guys? I'm Tristan, and today we've got some new kind of long-awaited cases that were announced from Corsair earlier this year at CES. And it seems like Corsair has been working to revamp a lot of their components lately with the new IQ Link system, HydroX stuff, and now following that trend, new cases. So getting right into it, today we're taking a look at the 6500 series of cases, and in this lineup is the 6500D Airflow, 6500X glass version, and the 6500X glass with RGB. They have stuck with the numerical naming system, which I'm actually pretty happy to see because it does make finding these cases online a lot easier. And the case we're going to be working with today is the 6500X, which is going to be the tempered glass option, whereas the 6500D is the airflow option with a mesh front panel, and the soon-to-be-released 6500X RGB is going to come with 3 IQ Link RGB fans and an IQ Link system hub. As for the packaging, it's pretty basic in terms of what you'd expect with a PC case. Nothing really to note here. It seems to be packaged well enough, but no super premium knit bag for the case, or any fancy accessory boxes or anything like that. And you're probably wondering why I'd expect that sort of thing. So price-wise, you're looking at $199 for both the 6500D and the 6500X. And when the RGB version does come out, that'll be $259, which is pretty substantial considering the other cases they're competing with in the market. Which I guess the RGB version makes more sense if you're looking to implement IQ Link components, because that does save you $100 with the 3 fans and the controller. But I'll try to limit this review on only the 6500X case because that's what we have here, and again, that's $199 with no fans. It isn't exactly set at a competitive price. I think a more reasonable price would be something like $169 because the Lianli O11 Evo is $159 and it has a modular motherboard tray where this one does not. But hey, let's see what the new 6500 series of cases has to offer and whether or not you should consider one for your next PC case. Corsair makes cooling even cooler with their all-new A115 air cooler. The Corsair A115 high-performance tower CPU air cooler features a copper cold plate and 6x6mm heat pipes for high-efficiency thermal transfer, paired with a variable slide-and-lock fan mount system and concentrated high airflow fans. Corsair's innovative ratcheting mount system is slimmed down for variable mounting height and a wide DRAM capability in nearly any system. It fits the latest Intel and AMD CPU offerings and includes premium Corsair XTM70 thermal paste for maximum heat transfer. A compact dual tower design makes installation easy and saves space without sacrificing performance. It comes with a 5-year warranty for your peace of mind, and you can check it out with the link in the description below. On the outside of the case, we've got 4 USB 3.2 Type A ports, 1 USB 3.2 Type C, all accented in that Corsair yellow color, which I do feel is a nice touch, and we do get an audio port as well. So the first thing I noticed about this case is on the left side of the glass, there are these machine screws holding the glass to the hinge, which don't really stand out that much, but I would have maybe liked to see the same hinge style that they went with on the 5000T cases, where it's hidden in the back to give a more seamless look to the glass. However, starting with the side glass, if we just apply a little bit of pressure on the bottom right-hand side, it swings out on these hinges and they are secured by a single screw in the top hinge. For the top mesh panel, this just comes right off. There's no tools or anything needed, but it does feel pretty secure. And with the front glass panel, there's just 2 small screws at the top and the bottom, and to remove it, it kind of swings open and slides out with a tiny bit of pressure. As for the back panel, there's just 2 thumb screws here that are accented in yellow as well, and Corsair is calling these one twist quick turn screws, and I'm not sure what sort of witchcraft went into developing these, but you don't need a screwdriver to remove them, no matter how tight you turn them by hand, which is pretty cool that they went through a little bit of extra effort on that. As you can see on the back side of the case, it is pretty basic. There's no extra cable covering doors like we've seen in previous cases, and they've also moved the rear fan bracket all the way to the back, which gives us a little less room back here for cable management, but that would be a pretty good trade-off if you wanted to throw a beefy radiator in that slot on the front side of the case. As for storage, we do have a hard drive bay at the top here, which can accommodate 2 3.5-inch drives and 2 2.5-inch drives, and as always, hidden inside of one of the slots here, we've got a nice little plastic box with all of our extra screws and zip ties. To remove the hard drive cage, there's just 2 screws that we need to remove at the top here, and then it just slides right out. Now, I was kind of worried about power supply accommodation with this layout, but you can fit ATX power supplies in this case without any issues. The largest power supply I had on hand was this EVGA 1200 watt P2, which is roughly 8 inches long or 200 millimeters, and it fits perfectly with enough room to still access the connectors. So that should be more than enough room for most power supplies out there. As for the overall case size and construction, the measurements are 481 by 328 by 496 millimeters, and it is made of 3mm thick steel. So it is on the larger side of a mid-sized ATX case, and it doesn't have as large of a footprint as I thought it would have on a desk. The major concern here was the width being about 40mm wider than an 011 Evo, but it's actually a plus for this dual chamber design, allowing for more room in the front to accommodate larger radiators, and as a trade-off, a bit less room in the back for cable management in this configuration. As for the front side, there is a ridiculous amount of room in here. It does support up to EATX sized motherboards, and here we're test fitting it with the EATX sized Z790 Meg-Ace from MSI, and there's absolutely no overhang on the side of the motherboard tray, and there's still actually a little bit of room on the tray and plenty of space to access the cable grommets on the side here. And there are 4 of these cable grommets running down the side of the motherboard tray and an additional 2 at the top of the tray. However, you might notice all of these additional cutouts on the motherboard tray, and that's because they're actually for reverse connection motherboards, which are starting to roll out into the market. So if you have an ASUS BTF or MSI Project Zero motherboard with connections on the back of the board, this case will be compatible. For cable management, there's not really much going on here. There's not as many zip tie points or integrated Velcro straps as we've seen with other Corsair cases, and Corsair is actually selling these Velcro straps separately for this case, and they're calling it the Rapid Route Retrofit Kit. So if cable management is important to you, that's going to cost you an extra $15. However, there is a Velcro strap on the outside of the case, presumably to route your HDMI or DP cables down and around the back side of the case if needed. And there's also this very mysterious cutout on the power supply side of the case, and it's presumably for an IQ Link system hub that will release with the RGB version of this case to tie in future IQ Link devices. For dust filters, we've got one at the bottom of the case, one at the top here, and one integrated into the back panel, which is removable, which is a huge plus because that does make cleaning a little bit easier. So let's get into the big thing here, and that is the fan and radiator support, because that's clearly what this case is designed for with all of that room inside of the case. But you can fit 10 fans like we've got here comfortably. With the 6500D, the airflow version of this case, you do get this additional bracket at the front side, which is removable by the way, and it can hold an additional 3 fans, which gives you 13 fans total in a standard fan configuration. The top bracket can hold up to 3 120mm fans or 3 140mm fans and accommodate up to a 360mm radiator. The side bracket can hold 3 120s or up to a 360mm radiator, but there's actually not mounting holes for 140mm fans, presumably due to height restrictions. However, if you're like most people and don't need that much radiator space in the front and would rather have extra space in the back, this bracket in the back is actually removable with just one screw. And you can bring it forward about 45mm to give you extra room in the back side of the case by reattaching this bracket to the front side. The divider on the right side here is also completely removable, opening up the back side of the case for additional cable management space and completely eliminating any restrictions you would have had in the default case orientation. And for the side, we can fit a single 140mm fan here, and there's room for a 140mm radiator here as well. You can fit a GPU up to 400mm long, and this ROG Strix 4090 is 357mm long, so realistically you do have room for larger GPUs if they do keep getting bigger in the future. Corsair is selling what they're calling elite panels with these cases to change the exterior look of the case. I'm told they're releasing in 5 different colors and will be available at launch. The aluminum elite panels are a $99 upgrade and come in either black or silver, and the wood options are a $75 upgrade and come in either bamboo, walnut, or teak. So the color we've got here is the teak, and they are pretty easy to put on. There's at least one screw in each of them, and they are direct replacements for the factory panels, so you don't have to worry about them coming off. The sample teak panels that I got were not a great fit for my case. However, Corsair has said that this has been addressed for the production models, and I still do really like the idea of being able to change the exterior case color. Another thing I want to touch on is if you do purchase the airflow version of this case for the additional front bracket and decide later on to upgrade to glass panels, you will of course be able to upgrade those by purchasing a glass conversion kit, which is actually pretty reasonably priced at $35. With all of that being said, I do think these are pretty nice cases overall. I would have liked to see a little lighter tint on the front glass. That's actually why I have them off. I would have also liked to see a modular motherboard tray, maybe an included vertical bracket, but I do think these are really nice cases overall aesthetically. I know the upgrades seem like Corsair is taking a play out of Apple's book and charging for all the additional things, but realistically, you don't have to buy any of them to use either of these cases. They are just extra options to add that extra touch of personality to your build, and at the end of the day, you don't have to do any of them, but it is still really cool that Corsair is offering them for anybody who does want to do them, because a lot of case companies don't even have that as an option. I will give Corsair a thumbs up for these because honestly, if it wasn't for the pricing, I think these cases would be a huge success for them. As usual, if there's anything that I've missed or if you guys have any questions at all, just drop me a comment and I will see you in the comments section. And thanks for watching. I'll catch you all in the next one.